Hello, I'm Mitra Sorrells in the PhocusWire studio with Stephen Joyce of Protect Group. Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Great to have you here. So let's start by talking about the fact that, we know that travelers today are expecting more than just a seat on an airplane or a room in a hotel. What are some of the smarter ways that you are seeing partners use ancillaries to add value at the booking stage? And where do you see the biggest growth opportunities?
I think we're seeing ancillaries really play a big part in enhancing the customer experience. So, and with the choice, right? So it's making smart choices around the types of ancillaries that you're offering. So if you are a hotel, for example, you're not going to offer lounge access right? But you may offer eSIMs, for example, because travelers, when they're staying in a destination, are going to need mobile access outside of your hotel, because of course you're going to offer free Wi-Fi.
Right.
So, there's things like that.
Yeah.
Also, and then with other different types of verticals. So with airlines, offering a more comprehensive ancillary package. So not just offering the refund protection, but also offering things like our Protect Plus products, which are lounge access, baggage delay, eSIM, even things like carbon offsets as well, just to add the sustainability aspect to it as well. And then being able to serve up those products dynamically, I think, is really important, and pricing it right for the customer. That's the other thing that's really critical, because you want it to help increase conversion. You don't want it to be confusing for the customer during the checkout flow. So that's really where we're seeing
It makes so much sense, just thinking more holistically about what that experience is going to be like for the traveler. You mentioned refund there. So of course we have certainly seen a noticeable shift in travel toward refundable bookings and an interest in refund. What do you think is driving that, and how are you at Protect Group helping travel sellers respond to that?
Well, as we saw with COVID, right?
Yeah.
I think COVID was a really big push for that.
Yeah.
Can't believe we're 5 years away from that now. But what a difference that made in terms of consumer perception around flexibility, especially. And affordability, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people are booking. They want to be able to protect their booking because they're worried about, the latest strain of whatever it is. It could be the flu, it could be COVID, it could be injury. And so we're seeing a lot of partners want to make sure that they can offer their customers the ability to be flexible around their bookings, but also, they want to protect themselves from a revenue loss perspective. So they don't want to end up refunding or canceling a lot of bookings and potentially risking their revenues as a result. So they want to be flexible, but they also want to protect their revenue. And that's really where we come in with the Refund Protect product. It's great for the customer because it gives them peace of mind, and it protects the operator or the OTA or the seller of the travel by protecting their revenues from loss.
So this, I think, ties into, we hear a lot about this kind of cancel for any reason type of product. It's a hot topic. What is your take on that model?
I really don't know how they make money with that product. And that's going to be very controversial. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to get mad at me for saying that. But we did a recent trial with a big partner of ours who wanted to offer a CFAR product. And we offered that product, we created that product and offered it alongside our traditional Refund Protect product. And what we found was that the cancel for any reason product, although it sounds good on paper, and it, from a provider standpoint, from a seller of travel standpoint, it sounds like it's something that would increase conversions, it would make people more comfortable. But what we really found is that it increases speculative bookings. So customers who don't have a high intention of buying, they're just like, should I buy it? Maybe I'll just buy it, right?
Oh.
And then they end up canceling it. And so it's much more expensive because in order to make it worthwhile to cover the actual costs of the product, you have to charge more.
Yeah.
So it's a more expensive proposition for consumers, which means it also has a lower conversion rate. So compared to our traditional product, it has a much higher cost to the consumer, lower conversion rate, and ultimately the customer is getting 70 or 80% of their money back instead of a full 100%. So from our perspective, it really doesn't make a lot of sense for the consumer. What we really want to focus on is consumers who have a high intent to buy and are looking for peace of mind for that product.
That-
And that really seems to be the sweet spot.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I have to say, I've not heard anyone else call it CFR. So I think,
Did I call
maybe
it CF?
cancel for any reason, right?
Yeah, CFAR.
CFAR. There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Okay. Let's.
Oh, you've not heard CFAR?
I have not heard CFAR.
Okay,
No, you've taught me some.
That's kind of the vernacular in the
like
space
in
is
the-
CFAR.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk a bit more broadly about trends. You're speaking with a lot of partners across the industry. What kind of trends are you seeing as far as booking and spending?
Yeah, we're seeing, especially in the tours, experiences, and activities space, although I know now that we're starting to see it across the travel spectrum, is fewer trips. So consumers are, because of economic conditions, social, political conditions as well, people are taking fewer trips, but they're spending more per trip. So they're making those trips count. And when you spend more on a trip, it's an investment. So you want to protect those trips.
Yeah.
So that's what we're seeing is fewer trips, especially from US and from Europe, especially now with conditions. We're probably going to see that reduce some more out of the US market. Europe is a little bit of a reduction. Spain, however, is kind of the outlier. So Spanish travelers are still doing the same number of trips. They're not spending more per trip, but the same number of trips. Most other travelers, fewer trips, but more spend. And we're seeing the only outlier other than the Spanish are affluent travelers. So those households that make 150,000 or more per year, they're traveling the same as they did before. They're spending the same amount, if not a little bit more. So that's what we're seeing in general.
Yeah, this will be certainly an interesting year to then look back at some of the trends as how they play out across the world.
And they're doing way more experiences. So they're doing more in destination.
Yeah.
Right? So they're looking at what can I do that really interests me, that I'm passionate about. A lot more passion-based travel is very, very big right now. People are looking to do more things that really resonate with them, that bring them more meaning when they go to a destination, rather than just this, straight up kind of basic sightseeing stuff. So that's really exciting. So that's, good news for those experience operators out there that are doing something a little different.
For sure. Everybody's looking for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Finally, before we wrap up, I'd be curious just to hear a little bit about the kind of traction you are seeing at Protect Group and how that business is evolving.
Yeah, it's one of those businesses that's been sort of under the radar for a long time, and but it does a really, really good business. We're on track to cover almost $7 billion in travel and ticket spend this year, which is huge, and we're looking at continued growth in that into 2026 and beyond, because the market for that type of protection, that consumer protection, is only growing. We get it in all the stuff that we buy, right? Every time you go to Best Buy or whatever and you buy a laptop, they're like, would you like the purchase protection, right?
Right.
You go, to your local grocery store and buy a coffee machine and there's like, would you like the extra protection?
Right.
So it's become very common to purchase that extra, because it's just convenient and you want the ability to, get your money back or buy a replacement without the hassle.
Yeah.
And so we're bringing that to travel, which is really nice.
Wonderful. Makes sense. Well, it's great to catch up with you, Stephen.
Yeah,
Thank you for joining us.
All
right.
Thanks, Mitra.
Thanks.